Hey there, folks. How you doing? Today we're going to talk about volcanoes. Volcanoes. All right. Typically, we when we start this conversation in class, I say, "Okay, tell me something that comes out of a volcano." Someone will say lava. Someone else will say smoke. Somebody might say ash. All right, and then we might get a few technical terms here and there. But lava, smoke, and ash are covered uh, right there. Lava is lava, of course. Smoke is down here under gases. All right. And ash falls under this category, pyroclasts or pyroclastics. Pyro is fire, right? And clast is rock or rock fragment. So, we're going to talk about all three of those over the course of this lecture. Okay. Um, we're going to talk about where volcanoes are, why volcanoes are, different types of volcanoes, and the stuff that comes out of them. All right. So we'll jump right in with the three kinds of volcanoes, or three types of volcanoes. And those words are right to here down the middle: shield, cinder, and composite. Shield cones, cinder cones, and composite cones. You hear when a volcanologist or even a geologist talks about the volcano itself, the mountain, if you would, they often refer to it as a cone, right? And you can see the resemblance, I imagine. I bounce back and forth. I don't necessarily say cone. I will say volcano just more often than not. I'll never say mountain, all right? But typically I say volcano. And like I said, the proper term, I always want to get that out there. The proper term is cone. So shield, cinder, and composite. What's the difference? Well, please do not start fretting about memorizing numbers and angles of incline or anything like that. We're going to get that across to you, hopefully, but not with specific numbers. Okay. We're going to talk first about shield type volcanoes, and these grow off of the ocean floor. All right, they're huge, absolutely huge. Well, think about it. They start on the ocean floor, and as indicated, at least in this case, they manifest themselves as an island. All right, not all of them pop out of the water and get inhabited, but many of them do. So right there is your first indication of how huge these things are. All right, not just is the island of Hawaii big, okay, but remember that goes all the way down to the ocean floor, and as indicated in this little picture here, it's a rather long, slopey journey. These shield cones are called as such because of their shape. If you can't picture a shield, like swords and armor kind of shield, picture a trash can lid. Okay, same idea. So we say very broad base, a very wide base, very low angle of incline. But these things are monsters. They're huge, huge. What they're made of really defines their shape. You'll kind of see that throughout here. These three types. These have lava eruptions. Okay. Lava burbles up out of the center vent hole and kind of rolls down the side of it very gently. It could sputter and spatter and make a beautiful fireworks display. But for our intents and purposes here, we're just going to have it bubble up and roll down to the sides. And as you slowly but surely do that over thousands and thousands and thousands of years, you could see perhaps how you get this sort of long, low sort of form for this volcano. All right. The cinder cone, on the other hand, is pointy. It's going to look tall because it's growing off of the surface of the earth. All right. So to you standing, down here on the ground, you say, wow, that's a really tall mountain. But comparatively, it's not very tall at all. You see, and I told you don't have to memorize these, but just, 10,000 meters as opposed to, where's my stupid mouse? There it is. As opposed to less than 300 meters. Remember, there's about 3 feet to a meter, so you look at 900 feet. Okay. Again, you were climbing it. It's, decent size. But again, the difference between cinder cones is these start at the surface. And as the name implies, cinder, you don't know this yet, that's another type of pyroclast. Remember, we told you ashes were pyroclast? Well, cinders are as well. And so this is a nasty, sputtery, spitty thing. Instead of lava gurgling up and gently flowing to the sides, this is shooting like a Roman candle, these fireballs up into the sky, and they're building up, clumping up all around the base of the vent. And it builds up rather quickly, as you could imagine. And you get this rather steep and pointy. This is much more like your typical ice cream cone, okay? Rather steep and kind of pointy. These are, like I said, these are just nasty, though. They're very explosive due to the nature. Kind of think like maybe if you've ever used a spray paint can, all right, or any spray thing really. But by the time you're starting to get to the end of it, it's kind of, just not a nice continuous spray anymore. But at the level of a volcano instead of, a can in your hand. So it's a nasty, there's a lot of gas mixed in there, and it's just sputtering out all over. I didn't really say this, but, if you're lucky enough, you can go tour these volcanoes in Hawaii, right? You don't want anywhere near this thing. These are nasty, evil, horrible things. And then you blend them both together, and you get, composite volcanoes. Composites combine the best or the worst, as it were, of both of these. You get alternating, not necessarily one after another consistently, but you get a mixture of lava and pyroclastic eruptions with these. Okay? And so with that, you get the broad base and the not quite so steep as the cinder cone, but you also get some height from when you have these pyroclastic episodes. All right? So it really goes to mix the two together, and what you end up with is this wide-based, rather steep. These start at the Earth's surface, okay? These are formidable mountains, okay? The other, like I said, the 900 feet, you may call that a hill, especially if you're one of these Adirondack climbers, right? But at 1,000 meters, 4,000 meters, okay? And why up here they say kilometers and down here they say 1,000 meters? I don't know. But so this is 1K or 4K, all right? Well, this is 10K. But remember, this has to start on the ocean floor. This is starting on the continent. These are beasties. And these are, if you're familiar with a volcano, like you hear a name, you're like, oh, yeah, I know that. It's one of these guys, okay? Because you never know what type of eruption you're going to get, and believe me, they're working on it, they're studying it. These aren't great to live around. We've got some in North America. We have some major cities around them. But over back in Europe, again, they're still fairly populated, but going way back, okay, we used to live very close to volcanoes, right on the slopes even, because of the amazing soil. All this ash, the nutrient that comes out in the ash, right? I'm sure you can imagine, comes out, and it's just wonderful soil, wonderful soil. All right. Anyhow, I kind of digressed a little bit here. So three types of volcanoes. All right. You've got your shield, okay, long, low, and lava eruptions. You've got your cinder cones that are pointy and explosive, and they come up with a pyroclastic material. And then we got our composite that is the best of both of those. It's big, broad-based, relatively steep, very tall, and it's a mixture of pyroclastic and lava-type flows. All right? All right, a little bit more before we leave this slide. We already indicated, I hope my mouse isn't making you sick. On my end, it disappears after like 5 seconds, and then it takes just about as long for it to see again. I don't know if you guys can see while I'm wiggling. Like right now, I'm wiggling it around, but I can't even see it. This is me trying to get my mouse. There, it just came back. So I hope you can't see all that wiggle. You probably get seasick watching me. I apologize. Anywho, Hawaii for a shield type. I want you to remember some location examples here, okay? Shield volcanoes, Hawaiian Islands, great example. Composite, all right? Composite, I want you to remember the Cascade Range. Those are the volcanoes in North America. We'll talk more about them later. Cascade Range, North America. Lastly, you guys, we haven't, depending on the semester, this semester we have not yet done Igneous Rocks. Okay, I did volcanoes first this time, but so you don't know these words, basalt and andesite. Those are types of lavas or magmas, chemistries of lavas or magmas. And when we do igneous rocks, those will be 2 out of the 3 categories, all right, of chemical makeups. Not important right now, but just something to keep in the back of your head. For those of you, like I said, if I'm reusing this in another semester and we've already done igneous rocks, well, then you know what that means. All right. So back to the point. Shield volcanoes, Hawaii, basalt. Who knows what kind of sand oftentimes Hawaii is famous for? Yeah, black sand, right? Basalt is a black rock. So sand, as you hopefully know, comes from rocks being worn down. So you've got an island made out of black rock, you're going to have black sand. It is very cool, but it is quite expected. We just don't have too many places in the world where, you know, everything is made out of this black rock. So it's unique. It's not unique. It's rare and very cool. All right. Andesite, on the other hand, is a different type of igneous rock. It's a different chemistry. And we associate those with composite volcanoes. All right. So when you see ash or lava from the Cascade Range, remember we talked about those. Those are in North America. We expect those to be andesitic in nature, andesite. I do not have a location or a lava type for, don't worry about this, ignore that. Scratch, nothing there, okay? I don't want you to worry about a location type or a composition for cinder cones. All right, so back to lava for a little bit. As we just kind of indicated, lava comes in different types, flavors, as I joke about in class. But in the end, it's seeing an image like this that really just gives you an idea. If somehow you've made it this far in life without seeing in a Hollywood, movie, let alone on TV in some way, shape, or form or another, what lava looks like, okay? Very few folks that I've come across have been to a erupting volcano in person, but maybe some of you have. I love this picture for a couple of reasons. One, the colors are just so drastic, okay? But these 2 trees, and, I always just took it for, it was just part of the picture. But one semester, somebody raised their hand and said, how are those trees still standing there? How do they not get, you could see the black rock all around it here. By the way, black rock is basalt. Good. They're encased. They were obviously, lava all around them. What happened? I don't know. It could be. I grew up watching Bugs Bunny, Warner Brothers, Bugs Bunny, Roadrunner cartoons, and one of the gags they'd like to pull all the time is somebody to get blown up, but they'd still be standing there, and then you'd walk over and you go, or just flick them, and they'd go to ash, right? For all we know, if strong wind came by, these things would just trickle down to the ground. But more than who knows? Perhaps it was really rainy that day. When the first eruptions came over this way, the wood was super wet. I mean, lava's hot though. Lava's hot. But for whatever reason, it edged up to those trees. It was cool enough. They just didn't burn up. Pretty amazing. You see, there's another one off to the side here too. So we're gonna assume, all right, we're seeing this black rock here, and right now in your minds, well, we want you to assume black rock is basalt and Hawaiian Island. Okay. So we're gonna assume this is a picture from there. I want to talk to you now a little bit more about lava. Two types. Well, before I pronounce this one, how would you say this? Yeah, exactly. Pahoho, right? It doesn't sound very proper or whatever, very scientific, but, well, what do we know? Pahoho. Well, it's actually Pahoihoi, and I can't tell you, I'm embarrassed to say how many years I said Pahoho for. But I recently heard someone in a position to know how to actually pronounce this stuff. And you know what? Pacific Islander, spelling, pronunciation, verb, word history. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Pahoihoi, which is even a little more fun to say. So Pahoihoi and this one's exactly as it looks. This is another one of my favorite pictures. We'll talk about this in a second. So, and Pahoihoi. What's the difference? All right. Well, Pahoihoi is very thin and runny. Okay, very fluid-like, not very viscous. Viscosity. There's a word you don't hear too much in life, and when you do, it has to do with oil, right? And changing your car. 10W40, 10W30, whatever. All right. It's a measure of how thick something is. Actually, it's a measure of resistance to flow is what viscosity means. But we tend to break it down to mean how thick something is. Very viscous liquid is very thick liquid. So this is not very viscous. Pahoihoi means thin and ropey, I'm told. And what we're looking at here, see this gnarled sort of tree root looking stuff in the back there? This is what happens. The top sort of glazes over, starts to crystallize just a little bit, but underneath it's still flowing and it twists this up. Very cool. I'd love to see a rock that looks like that. And I ought to just Google up some pictures and put them after this. So Pahoihoi is one type, and now we're still on the Hawaiian Islands, so this is basalt. This is what's kind of important to notice here. I don't test you guys to this level ever in lab or in lecture, but think about the differences I just said that a rock would make between this thing and the other one. This is also basalt. These are both basalts, okay? But this is a lot more like blacktop outside, or a whole bunch of burnt oatmeal all piled up. Okay, very viscous. This is like a moving pile of slag, all right, that happens to be, thousands of degrees. So thick and chunky. Staccato, very like the name sounds and looks even. So I told you this was one of my favorite pictures. Those guys look concerned? No, not at all. This is a still from a video, actually. I didn't make it, but I've seen the video since. And these guys are actually pacing out. They'll go up to here, and they'll walk briskly in front of it and put a little mark on the line. They're timing the flow of this lava field, okay? I've got the impression that they probably have some marshmallows back in the Jeep, and they're probably going to have a snack here in a minute. Okay, they don't look too horribly concerned, and this is part of, we indicated earlier that you could go and visit the Hawaiian Island eruptions, right? I might get a little nervous about getting close to this stuff, but unless you're that shrub or a rock next to that shrub, I think you could probably get away. I think even a turtle could probably outpace that flow. Houses, unfortunately might be lost in the way. But again, you should have plenty of time to clean out, possessions and stuff. So just two entirely different types of basalt. And in class, if you're in geology, I use this lecture in earth science as well. We talk about volcanoes, but not as in depth. In lab, we give you a hunk of black rock and tell you this is what basalt looks like. But geez Louise, you got to think that these are going to give you two entirely different looking hunks of basalt. All right, so anatomy of a volcano. Imagine that cone that we just talked about. Okay. In fact, if you're actually taking notes, you can draw a nice little upside down ice cream cone. And we're going to label the mountain itself. We're going to call that a cone. All right, do I have a picture in here? I do not have a picture in here. So we're going to call that mountain itself the cone, right? Remember the cone? Then at the top, we're going to take a bite out of that ice cream cone. Hopefully you're not taking notes in pen. You could erase and put a little dollop out of the top there. That's the crater. That is the very top. That's where you're going to climb up and throw a ring into, or back in the olden days, they used to throw a virgin into the sacrifice into the volcano there. That's the crater, and what's often called the rim of the volcano. Now, you can't quite see it, but right here, there's an implication of an indentation. And going down through the center of this here volcano is a word I've used a couple times. That's the vent, or the vent pipe. Okay, and that's basically the feeder tube that goes from the very tippy top of the volcano all the way down past where the volcano goes into the ground and into our very last vocabulary word, the magma chamber. All right, the magma chamber, M-A-G-M-A. And that's like a giant pool of lava or magma underground that feeds the volcano. All right. So for our anatomy of volcano, you've got the cone itself, the mountain. You've got the vent pipe that runs through the center of it. You've got the crater at the top. And you've got the magma chamber down below. You got all those parts? Cone, vent, crater, magma chamber. Awesome. All right. This is sort of a dual purpose picture here. I wanted to show you the crater and the vent there in this picture in the foreground. But in the background, we've got a very pretty lake, don't we? And no, that is not what a caldera is. Calderas often grow nice, pretty lakes, but they themselves are a collapsed volcano. Remember I told you there's a giant chamber of magma or lava underneath these volcanoes, the feeders for them? Well, in the very end, if that magma chamber ever drains and the last eruption is kind of huge, that could all collapse in on itself. Okay? A caldera is basically a collapsed volcano. It's a ring left by a collapsed volcano. It's the ruins of a volcano. And the crazy thing is that even once it goes to this level, all right, and yes, they do quite often fill up with water and make nice, pretty lakes, as I was joking about earlier. Even after it goes to this, there's no saying that it's still not going to grow another volcano in it. There's one very famous one, if you pay attention to this kind of stuff, called Crater Lake. All right, it's in the Cascade Range. You're actually going to see a picture of it in a moment. And in the center of that is what they call Wizard Island. And it's another little baby cone in the center of the lake that grew up. Some magma must have gone back into that chamber. And slowly but surely, it's growing and growing and growing. So even once a volcano blows itself into obliteration here, you still can't count it out. And the only other thing I want to mention, sometimes people ask about how close these volcanoes are to one another. And while I'm sure I could say, it's deceiving, I'm sure it's farther away than it looks. Yeah, they're still pretty dang close. And the idea about how big these magma chambers are or aren't, the way I described it to you a couple minutes ago, right? The individual magma chambers feed a volcano, and that's it. And that's a nice little snapshot, picture perfect kind of lecture explanation. But in reality, they can be very, very large and, as indicated here, potentially feed several volcanoes. So just throwing that out there.